At the core of Street Fighter VI, there are three types of players. There's an impulsive player who wants to establish their offense and overwhelm his opponent. A predictive player who studies their opponent to anticipate and counter their next move. And a passive player who watches and waits for an opportunity to strike back. You are one of these players, but you're also all of these players, you just don't realize it yet. Welcome to the Dojo. I'm YoDude, and in this video we'll define each of these playstyles and how they form a sort of rock, paper, scissors dynamic.
Join the Dojo Club Discord server today by following the link in the description below.
Let's begin by defining each type of player.
Are you ready?
The impulsive player wants to initiate a game plan onto their opponent. They want to be in there. Many players never get past this particular playstyle and resort to constantly mashing buttons, though there's a lot more to being impulsive than just pressing your face against the controller. This player strives when they are in control of the match pacing, and their pacing will almost always be pedal to the metal. They will likely go all out because if they slow down for a single second, they may allow you to take over the whole game. They don't know how to block. It's good to play impulsively against a passive opponent, as they are waiting for an opportunity to strike, and can generally be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of attacks you are throwing at them. Just be sure not to throw out any slow, punishable moves, and know when you're out of range to whiff an attack, because that will allow your opponent to strike. Impulsive players will pick a character with fast attacks, easy mix-up options, and an invincible wake-up option like Cammy, Kimberly, and Luke. The predictive player wants to study his opponent's choices. They may press unsafe moves to see if you know how to react to them. Every match online is a pop quiz, but a match against a good predictive player might as well be the end of your exam. Everything you do is studied. How many jabs you do before going for a throw, what option you favor on wake up, or even how often you jump when you're in range of SPD. These players strive to find bad habits in you they can exploit, and, well, they'll exploit them to win rounds. It's good to play predictively when your opponent is impulsive because they can be the easiest to read. The impulsiveness to press buttons generally favors the predictive player who is looking for every hole in their opponent's game plan. However, there is such a thing as studying so long that you miss the test altogether. If the download takes too long to give you an edge, it may be for the best to switch to another playtype. Predictive players will pick a character who are well-rounded overall and have many decent buttons like JP, Jury, and Kim. The passive player can feel like a stone wall at times. They generally want to wait for their opponent to do something punishable like a heavy attack with a long recovery, a jump in, or even a whiff button. Anything they can use to their advantage without committing to anything dangerous is what these players look for in a round. This player strives in their reactions against their opponents, catching them in seemingly safe situations and making them pay for trying. While playing passive, you're generally looking for one option over others. It's important to remember this because if your opponent can suss out what you're looking for, they may get a free punishment. It's ideal to play passively against a predictive player, as not pressing a button gives them less to go off of. That's not to say you should do nothing, but only pressing buttons when it's guaranteed damage puts neither player in an advantage or gives you the advantage. But just so we're clear, doing nothing is doing something to a predictive player. Feel me? Passive players will generally pick a character who may not be as bright on the radar as other characters, like Marissa, Honda, or even Zangief. So when does rock, paper, scissors come into play? Simply put, the three main playstyles fit crudely into those roles. It's not one-to-one, but we'll get to that. Impulsive play is rock. They're the quick-to-the-trigger style of play that shoots first and asks questions later. These players want to end rounds as quickly as possible. They typically lose to the predictive paper player who has a basic understanding of your flowchart as soon as the first round ends. They know what makes you tick, and the longer the set goes on, the more information they have to bait and exploit you. These players typically lose to the passive player. Our scissors wait for an opportunity to cut through the competition, giving the predictive player insufficient knowledge to go off of, but their sluggish style of play is typically overwhelmed by the impulsive rock. As I mentioned before, it isn't one-to-one. I like to think of it more in terms of the weapon triangle system found in modern Fire Emblem games. Not that running into your playstyle weakness is a guaranteed loss, but that your battle against them will be uphill. It's never impossible to win in Street Fighter 6. The journey will not be short, and it won't always be easy. Now that we understand the 3 styles of play, we can finally talk about how to train to become a better version of each. Join us next time as we discuss how to train to be an impulsive player. Later days.